Good evening. Today we're going to discuss about the political situation in Oromia with Dr. Trevor Truman. Um, Welcome, Dr. Trevor.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, first, I would like to give you a chance to tell us about yourself and the Oromia support group.
Okay. Well, as you say, my name is Dr. Trevor Truman. I'm a retired medical practitioner, and I took some time off from working as a GP in the late 1980s and was working training health workers for the Oromo Relief Association in refugee situations in Yabus and Damazin in Sudan, among the Oromo refugees. Um, And over 3 years, I spent several periods over there, and we did visit Oromia while I was there. We crossed the border illegally while the Derg was still in control. And in fact, I was in Wolaga near Mandi when the Derg fell to the TPLF and the OLF in 1991. And so I was always interested in what was going on. And when human rights abuses started occurring again, despite international acclaim to the new government, Meles Zenawi, when the OLF was so abused in the early part of 92 and the encamped troops were overrun and all sorts of horrible things were happening, nobody was taking any notice. And so, with the encouragement from Oromo in London, we set up the Oromia support group. And initially, it was a combination of news and information about Oromia, and
Mhm.
also we would report on human rights abuses. But as time has gone on, it's the main function has been to concentrate on human rights abuses there because so little has been documented. More recently, Amnesty and Human Rights Watch have done a better job, especially during the student uprisings, 2014 to 2016. But and OSG really had a lean time after about 2012. I don't think we were that necessary, to be honest, then, um, because the students were doing so well in terms of publicizing what was going on, and international organizations were picking up the cudgel on our behalf. But after 2018 and the extent of atrocities that Abiy's government has been conducting, I just felt that we had to start writing again. And again, nobody is talking about it. Nobody's taking the Oromo point of view. This is something that is really making me angry.
Yeah, that's very surprising. Recently, every news is about what is going on in the Tigray region in Ethiopia, and media organizations are silent, and human rights are not really reporting that much either. And whenever they report, they try to kind of like uh, taint the Oromo struggle rather than highlighting the human rights violations that's going
Mm.
on
And
and being committed by the government.
in fact, what they've done is hijacked the struggle. They hijacked the Oromo student movement, as Harchalu Hundessa pointed out. They hijacked it, uh, and I'm sorry, I've lost the point. I,
Yeah, so we're saying that like the global media and the global community are not paying enough attention to the human rights violation and atrocities that's going on in Oromia.
Yes, they not only hijacked that, they've hijacked the media. I was thinking of the Al Jazeera interview the other night when Awal Allo was surrounded by really fervent, disinforming Amhara nationalists. And it was a most unfortunate display of the control of the media that the Amhara nationalists have. It's very disturbing. And also, they've got a disproportionate representation in international organizations as well. Things like the UN, UNHCR.
Yeah, that's very surprising. Yeah, I also watched that conversation on Al Jazeera stream, and I thought Awala was not given enough time to respond to some of the claims being raised by
Yes,
the
they were blatant lies
yeah.
that what they were saying. They were pure inventions and backed up by no evidence at all. We've got pages and pages of names, times, dates, exact events, but these wild claims by some people.
Yeah, so that guy Theodoros Tarrafi or somebody, he like statistics after statistics, just living here, residing in the United States, probably in DC or in Maryland area, and he just um, re- unverified reports of incidents in Oromia and just allegations on
Yeah.
international global media and
Well, you could say the same about the OSG reports because I'm stuck in England here. So how could I possibly know what's going on? But we do have a network of informants that has been operating since the 1990s. We have a very studious and hardworking colleague in Sweden, who in Norway rather, who has helped collate information for us, like he did in the 90s when Urji and Human Rights League was setting up in Oromia before the mass arrests of Urji staff and Human Rights League people. And this fellow in Norway has maintained his contacts, and we are using that information now.
okay, so is there a way for you to verify the authenticity of reports from the ground? Is there times when you speak to the affected people?
It's not very often that I do that. Normally, I get colleagues to do that in Afanaromo. As you know, my Afanaromo is not very good, but
Yeah,
we will get colleagues to do that. But mostly, it's because we have relied on this system of contacts for 20 more than 20 years now,
mm.
and they have proved absolutely reliable. And they're trained. They do it right. You know, they get the right information by and large. And occasionally there's the odd mistake which you do pick up, and some I'm sure we don't, and spellings and this sort of thing. But occasionally they're corroborated from other sources. But
Yeah.
experience has told us to trust the sources arranged by this one particular colleague. But also we get information from organizations like OLA
Yeah.
and Human Rights League for the Horn of Africa. There is a lot of information in the report that I'm currently compiling, which has been gathered by reporters of the Human Rights League for the Horn of Africa. Because now there is an office in Finfinne, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. There is a frequent report that the Ethiopian security system intervenes and blocks the judicial system and rules in Oromia region and at the federal court with regard to the case of the Oromo political prisoners. What is your opinion about that?
Absolutely. The the judicial system is completely overruled now. It's never been truly independent in Ethiopia, and there were some brave defenders of judicial independence who were forced to leave or who operated on very difficult circumstances under the TPLF. I'm thinking, for instance, of Tchalia Berra, who was president of the Oromia Region Supreme Court, and he had to flee in 2005 because his family were at risk. And But yeah, it's much worse now. It's very unusual for judges to be detained in Ethiopia. Really, they're not detained unless they're caught red-handed committing a crime. Ordinarily, they have to be immune from that sort of thing. But we now see judges put in prison by this regime under, no particular reason. We've seen a complete breakdown of law and order, and there's no semblance of any independence of the press. We've got complete political detention now. Any opposition is put in prison or killed. The Oromo Federalist Congress, they're suffering from trumped up charges, and the OLF, most of those are completely illegal, their detention. They've not been charged with anything that stood up in court. In fact, the courts ordered the release of the OLF detainees 4 times. And we saw recently on the 29th, just 2 days ago, Lami Benya and Dawit Abdetta were finally released. When they appeared in court, they walked away from the court free, were immediately rearrested by security officers and back in prison again. It's a farce now, and as I say, it's never been truly independent in Ethiopia, but now it's a laughing stock. It's ridiculous. There's no semblance of independence at all now. We
So
have even
uh,
lawyers are operating under harassment. The lawyers who are working for the OLF detainees, they're being particularly attacked. One of them, Bona Yazoo, he was detained on his way back from Adama on the 23rd of March, and we didn't know where he was for 5 days. And a lawyer, and this is shocking behaviour on behalf of the government. You can't do that to put people in the legal profession in prison just because you feel like it.
yeah, so Ethiopia has turned it to like it's a dictatorial regime right now, and they are not trying to hide it. They are openly practicing it right now. Even if we compare Ethiopia to Kenya, in Kenya the judicial system has like freedom, and they can do whatever they want they without intervention from the security system or law enforcement. But in
This,
Ethiopia, the one that you mentioned right now is not an isolated incident. It's been around, and for a while, they have been doing the same. Whenever people are acquitted, political prisoners are acquitted, the police will wait for them outside and put them on trucks and transfer them to different jails. So that has been frequently reported.
oh yeah, well, the TPLF used to do this, but it seems that Abiy's security apparatus is even better at it. Well, he was trained under the TPLF, of course,
Yep.
anyway, security people.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's quite worse.
it is. It's very much worse. Well, the whole situation is so much worse. As I say, I'm compiling a report at the moment, and it's horrific. The numbers of killings. The 80 at least. We've got the names of 80 farmers killed in the Oromia Special Zone in Amhara region last weekend, and possibly up to 10,000 displaced people. And this is ethnic cleansing. What they're doing there. Guliso, there are 19 killings this year in Guliso, 8 a couple of weekends ago in this month, in March. And although Central, East and Southern Oromia, we've got 23 killings, and Benishangul Gumuz a couple, in Wolaga mainly, we've got 81 killings recorded for the first time in the last few months. And 55 of those killings occurred this year in Wolaga. And this is horrific. This is far more than we've experienced before. In all my 20, 30 years of reporting.
Yeah, let's say that the government kind of is conducting some kind of flag, kind of trying to blame it on the Oromo Liberation Army's movement in the region. So he kills Amharas who have been settled in Oromia region and trying to blame it on the Oromo Liberation Army. So as kind of a false flag.
This was in a different part of Galicia, in fact. It was
Hmm.
50, 60 kilometers from where the atrocity occurred when the Amhara settlers were killed in the
Hmm.
beginning of November last year. But that was obviously a put-up job. It was a government militia that did that,
Yeah.
purely by the movement of troops and what happened with the security apparatus that day. And the swift way that the media responded. The Amhara media machine really clicked into gear, and they took along with them important organizations like Amnesty International. The Amnesty International report, the first line of the report said there were claims that this was due to Oromo Liberation Army fighters. That's awful.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And
what the government does. Immediately, they plan this and conduct. It's a false flag that.
the obvious ethnic cleansing that's been going on in Oromia Special Zone in Amhara region, um, that has been blamed, as you say, that they've called that fighting by the OLF. And the OLF has never been anywhere near the Oromo Special Zone in Amhara region. And the idea that the OLF would fight with sticks and spears against an armed militia is a bit ridiculous anyway. Those poor farmers there, they they would try them to defend themselves as best they could, sure, but to blame them for the violence is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So what they are trying to do is they tag everything, and then whenever they want to annex a land or they want to remove the people from the area and replace by their own, they want to occupy the area. So they tag the people as if they are Oromo Liberation Army and start attacking. And one of the two MPs in the parliament came out and defended the population, saying that there is no OLA in the Wallo zones in Amhara region.
Ah,
So this,
right.
yeah, yeah. So two representatives from the area asked the prime minister and to intervene and stop the Amhara militias ethnic cleansing on the Oromos in Wallo region.
And what was his response?
Well, he also he's always defending, and so you know that the Amhara militia also committed ethnic cleansing in Tigray region, and so they are not stopping, even though the global community is reacting to that.
It's
And
not just
yeah,
Tigray.
yeah,
Benishangul Gumuz, Gida
exactly.
Ayana, East Wallaga.
Yep. And the prime minister was saying that like we can send the Amara militia whatever we want. We can even send them to Jijiga, which is in Somalia region, Somalia Ethiopia region, on the east side. He is now he did not respond to that. But fortunately, I don't know if he was effective and they have stopped yet, but the northern military commander, who happens to be an Oromo, kind of he said uh, we cannot wait until the government tells us to intervene. So we have sent the federal defense force to intervene and stop the Amara militia. But I've
Ah,
heard, yeah, but I've heard there's also a continuous attack by the Amara militia even yesterday. So it's going on. Anyways,
in Wallow still.
yes, in Wolozon. A lot
Right.
of burning of homes and gruesome killing of civilians who were traveling to hospital after injury. and also
Oh,
forests are being burned. A lot is going on, but
yeah.
the global
I
community,
heard
they
of two people being dragged out of an ambulance and butchered. Yes, I heard about that.
yeah, that was barbaric. That's very sad. So in Ethiopia, the law enforcement is loyal to the ruling party. The police imprison any citizen that deem is a threat to the ruling party. What do you think about that? How
Well,
can this change?
it's arbitrary arrest, isn't it? And sure,
Yeah,
but it's much more than that. Though. Arbitrary arrest is nowhere near as bad as torturing people, raping people, and killing people, which is what they're doing with abandon in Ethiopia across the whole country. But of course, Oromo are bearing the brunt because, as usual, we're seen as the biggest threat. Yes, it's the systematic eradication of opposition, either by imprisonment or killing, is amazing under this government. In the Red Terror, I am told they used to drag people out of prison and shoot them. Well, this is happening under this regime now.
exactly. Several instances of people being taken out of the government custody and killed and thrown into bushes.
Our reports are full of photographs of dead bodies thrown at the roadside. And I'm afraid this next report, which I'm compiling at the moment, is going to be no different. It's a sorry story. And whereas in reports previously, perhaps you'd have half a page of people being killed in any one region, and now I've got 5 pages of people being killed in Wolaga. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, why is the diplomatic community based in Finland not reacting to what is going on? Like the systematic exclusion of independent political parties from the political process, and people being taken out of jails, being assassinated, killed, and thrown into bushes. Why wouldn't the international community react to that?
Well, why didn't they react when the TPLF were in power, when similar abuses were going on, although perhaps not at the same, well, no, definitely not at the same intensity. But yeah, they were silent then because it suited them. Don't fool yourself that the international community is worried about anybody else but the international community. They're not worried about, well, that's perhaps unfair, but I certainly have not been encouraged by the response to abuses under the TPLF. Abiy, however, is different. He is clearly unsound, and he is clearly driving that region into very unstable territory. And I suspect the international community will be glad to see him go. And I suspect he won't have as much support. Well, I know that he hasn't got as much support as he did have. I think there's every reason to be optimistic from the Oromo point of view, to be honest, because the situation at the moment is extremely unstable, and the Oromo are the only people well organized enough to know how to run Oromia. And we will step into the vacuum when there is chaos, I guess. And it could be that there'll be protracted civil war, and that would be to absolutely nobody's benefit at all. But there, one hopes that the international community would bring people to the negotiating table so that we could establish another transitional government like we did in 91. But this time, mean it.
Yeah, you mentioned a good point. So in 1991, the people who want moderated and negotiated the settlement when Derg was defeated, kind of ignored and didn't give a chance for Oromo political leaders.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Did you
think?
attend, did you attend the Oromia support group conference? Well, the Oromia Human Rights Group. It's part of the consortium that it is the consortium of which we are part. Had a forum in October at
Yes.
which Herman Cohen spoke. Were you there?
Yeah, he kind of apologized and said, and now I really now understand, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have given the
Absolutely.
Oromo political leaders a say in the negotiation. But he also blamed the Oromo political leaders, saying that they were silent until the end, and at the end, after we were tired, they mentioned, yeah, he
Well, I
was
suppose
blaming,
any diplomat likes to, anybody who makes a mistake likes to excuse that mistake. When you ignore people,
yeah.
then say, "Oh, they didn't speak loud enough." That's no, that's not fair. But
Yeah,
at
it
least he
sounds
admitted,
very easy.
at
And
least he admitted that, and he
yeah, let me
said
say, yeah.
that he should have allowed, as if allowing was anything American prerogative, but he said that he regrets not standing by a referendum for Oromia like he did for Eritrea, and that
I
would.
mean, yeah, I mean, even he could have done, he could have allowed the Oromo Liberation Front to have more representatives and also follow up in ensuring that nobody will resort back to dictatorship and there would be a true democratic process. They could have done that, but he kind of just ignored everything and as if like it doesn't matter. This group doesn't
Well,
matter. So
it wasn't entirely the Americans' fault or the British fault. I mean, we have to blame the TPLF for being the TPLF. But okay, they got international support, but it was TPLF doing, just as the current debacle is the doing of extreme Amhara nationalists who've been enabled to get into power because of Abiy Ahmed's delusions.
do you think it's going to be different right now if some kind of negotiation takes place? If there is a national dialogue, probably initiated by third parties, the global powers. Do you expect it to be different? Would they include the Oromo political parties in the negotiation and try
Yes,
to end?
yeah, even the bluntest, most ignorant commentator on African affairs now cannot claim ignorance of the Oromo rights claim for some degree of self-determination, and it would be ridiculous to suggest otherwise.
Um, I'm scared by the trend that's going on. For example, right now, the international media do not report much about what is going on in Oromia. They are only focusing on what is going on in Tigray. And the same is true. Global leaders, when they issue a statement, um, and on daily basis, when they post something on their social media, they don't say anything about what is going on in Oromia. They don't sound like they care about these people. They
Yeah,
only
but
mention about the condition in Tigray is grave. How about in
but,
Oromia?
but they are establishing the fact that this is a racist, supremacist body of people, these Amhara militias and the government. And so once that has been established, then our case of being persecuted by the same people, extremists, Amhara nationalists, will find credence. People will believe us. The lies that are being sown will come out. We've got the facts there, and we will publish them.
Yeah, yeah. The Amara elites are doing a lot to, to use the um, evidences like false evidences against the Oromo people. They want to mischaracterize the Oromo and a kind of blame, even though the Oromos are the victims, they are characterizing the Oromo as the perpetrators.
Yeah.
So that is
Well,
what happened on Al Jazeera. And
yeah, yeah. But this is the Amhara elites that are doing this. And this isn't ordinary Amhara people. And ordinary Amhara people are being um, misinformed by such media, so that there is genuine fear amongst Amhara people about Oromo. And it's our responsibility really to reduce that fear, to show that nobody wants anything more than a fair share of the cake. We don't want anybody else's piece of the cake, just our own. But
that's true.
that's
That
the
is true.
problem.
Like,
Is that Amhara mentality is the zero sum winner takes all, and they fear the major people in Ethiopia being Oromo. They fear that they will lose out. Well, culturally, but as I say, it's the ordinary people that need informing about Oromo intentions.
yeah, that's true. They are committing ethnic cleansing in Tigray, and I saw one gruesome incident where they assembled civilians and took them to an area, shot them from a cliff,
Mm.
and
I saw the
saying
same.
that, yeah, saying that he has not died yet. Let's finish him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he says, we learned the cruelty from the Wayane or TPLF. And, and then in Oromia, they are doing the same thing in Wallo, in Horogururi area. The Amara militia have been transported and committing ethnic cleansing. And again, in Benishangul Gumuz, they did the same. In Hawi zone in 2019, they killed about 100 Benishangul Gumuz. They are committing ethnic cleansing, and the Amara region government is behind it. They are proud of their militia. They are not trying to stop this. They want to continue this and increase, strongly continue to commit the same
Mm,
crime.
mm,
And the federal government's not willing to stop them. Kind of like they right now, what we see in the international community, the Amara people are demonstrating, backing Abi's actions and also their own militia. So
mm.
like this is going on,
Yeah, they're
and the
committing
government
ethnic
supports it.
cleansing. They're committing ethnic cleansing while their media are crying genocide.
Yep,
Genocide being
exactly.
committed against them, which is grossly unfair. But the truth will out, and this will not continue. The truth
Yeah,
will come out, and the nature of that regime and Abiy Ahmed himself will not be hidden from view. And politicians already are very guarded about supporting him. And I think his support base amongst Amhara will crumble, because it's only these extremists that are doing this. Ordinary Amhara people just want to get on with life, just like ordinary Oromo do.
yeah. So I remember one of the Nama, one of Amara political parties saying, the leader of that party saying that the Amara people do not even have shoes, and like, and he was describing how destitute the population is, but the elites residing in cities, and mostly in Oromia cities as well as Bahir Dar and Gondar, they try to annex lands from Tigray, they try to annex lands from Benishangul Gumuz and from Oromia, and they want to also force the people live like from Wallo area. So this is going on. Um, there are some kind of internal people to people communication saying that what they are trying to do is they want to connect the Amara state with the capital. so that they can claim the capital as their own.
Well, that's obvious ever since the enlargement of the city administration, wasn't it? The master plan, or the integrated master plan they talked about. Yep,
Yeah,
it's old-fashioned expansionism, I'm
yeah.
afraid.
Now
This is so.
let's talk about the political Oromo political organizations. At this moment, more than 60% of the Oromo Liberation Front's top and mid-level leaders are in jails. And what is the intention of the ruling party in conducting a massive imprisonment of Oromo political leaders?
Well, obviously, they just want to get rid of the opposition. The Human Rights League for the Horn of Africa um, issued a press release 1 week ago on the 24th, and they have counted up 884 top OLF personnel are in detention, and over 300 senior members and candidates of the Oromo Federalist Congress are in detention, as well as the OLF headquarters, which were closed back in 2019. The 103 at least OLF offices have been closed, and this was as of December, more since then, and 195 Oromo Federalist Congress offices have been closed down and looted by the government. So, what chance democracy, eh?
Yeah, this is in contradiction with Abiy's first move. When he came to power in 2018, he started by releasing political prisoners and going to neighboring African countries and getting people released and taking them on his own like private airplane and taking them home. Now this is like a 360 reverse. Do you think Abiy's current behavior and direction is highly influenced by the Eritrea's regime?
I don't know. It's fascinating how he's got Isaias Afewerki's wholehearted support, isn't it? And even Eritrean soldiers are among the Amhara militias. Did you know that? There's
Yeah,
one
yeah,
ID found amongst the Amhara militia that died in the Oromia Special Zone, I understand. Um, no, it's very interesting. I presume it's the hatred of Tigrayans that drove them together like this. And certainly what they've been doing in Tigray suggests they have a common purpose in eradicating Tigrayans as much as possible. It's horrific what's going on. And yeah, they both belong to 2 centuries ago, those guys.
yeah. That's surprising. Abiy Ahmed kind of became a close friend of Isaias Afewerki, and now he shuttles from Finfinne to Asmara every time and then. And it seems like his number one advisor is Isaias Afewerki, and is trying to turn himself to Isaias. He wants to stay in power indefinitely by imprisoning political prisoners. And now he's also trying to hold like uncompleted election while putting political parties, driving them out of
Yeah.
the electoral process.
What's the population of Eritrea?
It's about 7-8 million.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the population of Ethiopia now is what, 110, 115 million? So
yeah.
the Oromo are going to be what, 45 million?
The
That's
Oromo,
a bit different. That's a bit different to what
yeah, that's a
Isaiah.
big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isaiah
so
could do that to his population, but nobody's going to keep the Oromo down. It's just
I think they
impossible.
can try, but eventually they can't keep the Oromo people subjugating and repressed right like that. I think change will come, but as people, we have to push, we have to press hard. We don't have to give up, and also rely mostly on ourselves. The global community is not standing by us right now. They don't say much about what is happening in Oromia, but we have to try hard. It should be the
I
Oromo people who free ourselves.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Oromo population is more than the population of about 20 countries in Africa, and that's about the same number of population in Kenya and yeah.
Well,
So
if I'm as far as I understood it, it's probably 20 years ago, but the population of Africa was only about 500 million. So 500 million, 600 million, and there's 50 countries in
yep,
Africa.
yeah,
So it's only 10 million, 12 million a country, and
right.
there's over 40 million Oromo. So that tells you where the Oromo are and how much recognition they haven't got. The second biggest language, second most commonly spoken language in Africa, indigenous language, that is. It's incredible that the Oromo are not as well recognized as they should be. But
I think if the global community were to give the Oromo people struggle support, and if they wanted to stabilize that country, they should have given support to the Oromo people struggle. There is no other nation in that country that can stabilize that the Ethiopia other than the Oromo people being the
well,
largest.
Len Chalata has always said that you won't get stability in Ethiopia without freedom for the Oromo, and you won't get stability in the Horn of Africa without stability in Ethiopia. And that's common sense. So it all depends on the Oromo. It's a linchpin, really. And we've got good relationships with all surrounding peoples with whom we've had to deal and with whom we have been dealing until recently.
Yep. So we have a greedy dictator in power who is who doesn't know about peace with the citizens. So the Oromo people, the Benishangul Gumuz people, the southern nations, the Somali people, all are now crying because of the government intervention, and the same thing going on here and there in Tigray
It's
region as
very,
well.
very unstable. Very unstable.
Um, yeah, so I think Abi is so greedy, and now what I wanted to say was that like there is no peace inside. There is no peace with neighboring countries either. There is a fighting between Ethiopia and Sudan that has been going on for a while right now on the western part of Ethiopia, west north part of Ethiopia, and there is also a dispute with Egypt about the Grand Ethiopian Grand Renaissance Dam. Egypt is saying that we are not going to give um, if a small amount of the flow of the Nile is reduced from Egypt, they might start some kind of military intervention or something. I think recently what is going on is not good. So, and I think everything boils down to the greed by the Abiy's regime to control everything, to stay in power, and without it doesn't want to let other political parties participate in the political process and beat them if he could by doing something good for the people. But he's not doing that. He knows that he would be defeated on a free and fair election, so he wants to take them out of the political process. And then there is also no peace with neighboring countries. We don't have peaceful relationship with Sudan right now, nor with Egypt. So a lot's going on. I don't know where Ethiopia would head with this trend, with the
It's
situation in Tigray
it's
as
such a
well.
shame after that promising beginning, isn't it?
Yep. So thank you so much. So I think we are getting closer to the end of our conversation. Do you have any points to say?
Yeah, a couple of things. Although obviously one is very sad at the loss of life and the loss of all the potential and the loss of progress and development that's going on because of this regime. But like the student sacrifices between 2014 and 2016, there are reasons for optimism. The Oromo um, awareness of self is greater than ever before, and I think, especially now with the situation being so unstable, that we are approaching some sort of turning point. And I think meaningful self-determination, in whatever form that comes, is closer now than it's ever been before. Dioda, I reckon. Um, and the opposing forces are so out of date. It's what, 200 years ago that people were behaving like Abbey.
Yep.
We should be confident that things are going to be coming our way, but we have to be caring partners. Our neighbours don't want to see us being belligerent. We should be looking at things from their point of view. So, Oromo nationalism, fine, but don't let's get like the others. Let's look from an Amhara point of view as well.
I think actually, for someone who is really like humanly looking at the Oromo as a nation, they can just look at the Oromo's reaction to what is going on in Tigray right now. The TPLF has not been friendly to the Oromo people. Over the last 27 years when they were in power, they brutally oppress the Oromo people. They imprison a lot of people. They kill Oromo artists. They kill Oromo students, and dismiss Oromo students just entirely based on their identity. But we didn't really count that and say the Tigray people deserve what they are dealing with right now. We didn't say that. We say these people have the right to decide who has to govern them. They have the right to elect who has to rule them and represent them. So we reacted to Abiy's action as like illegal, and so from that point of view, I think others should also understand that the Oromos are not really selfish, like the Amhara elites wants to portray, and OPDOs, and now the Prosperity Party want to paint us. The Oromo people are friendly, and also historically, you know about the good Difacha, where the Oromo welcomes people from different ethnic groups, and kind of adopts them and give them the right to become Oromo. And right now, the Oromo Liberation Front, for example, in the National Transitional Government, it announced it counted all the non-Oromo people in Oromia as Oromians. So
Hmm.
that means they have the same right as the Oromo people. They are not
Absolutely, yeah.
going to be targeted just because they are from another ethnic groups. So
Isn't that a wonderful message to send out? It's
exactly,
the opposite of ethnic cleansing. It's ethnic
exactly,
welcoming. Yeah, and
exactly, exactly.
this is a really good example. I'm very pleased that you brought that up. That's great. And in fact, one of the main pins of OLF teaching in supporters cells used to be, I think, the four main things that they taught about, but one of those four, was respecting the rights of other people in Ethiopia. That was one of the four main objectives of the OLF. And I've always been um, impressed with that. And it's such a shame to see Ola being blackened by media accounts of attacks on civilians when it's probably the only army in Africa that doesn't go for civilians ever. It's only, and not even infrastructure if it's valuable. They don't want to delay progress. But well, time has come that change is round the corner.
Yeah,
Very
the
soon it
government is
is.
the government is experienced in doing such kind of drama, where it concocts some kind of attack on the population, civilian population, and blames it on the Oromo Liberation Front. They have done it in Arbagugu early, I think in 1991, 1992, on the eastern part of Oromia, and they are repeating the same. They have a past experiences, so yeah, I don't think they are going to change anytime until they are removed from power and no longer can commit crimes on people just for political gain.
But remember, this is only elites that are doing this. We're not against Amhara people. We're not. We fully sympathise with ordinary people that are bearing the price of all these atrocities, whether they're Amhara, Tigrayan, Oromo, or whatever. It is these politicians in power that are causing problems, and they drag people along with them, and they're causing racism. And the potential for that is obviously um, very dire. We don't want a Rwanda on the scale of Ethiopia.
No,
That's the greatest fear.
I don't expect that would happen, especially if we look at the demographics in Oromo cities and towns. At least you will find quite a few Amara people, and they have always lived peacefully with the population, and it has never changed. But I think it was during the 1977, 1984 famine that people, many Amara people have been settled in different regions in Oromia. So now they isolated incidents that they try to blame it on the Oromo struggle for independence and self-determination. So I think it's the government that's doing. It tries to tarnish the image of the Oromo struggle so that the global
Well,
community would not stand with us.
there's no doubt it's a tried and tested practice. I've interviewed people who've been at things that were blamed on the OLF, like dropping a bomb into a crowd in Ambo in the 1990s. I
Exactly.
interviewed somebody who was hired by security to be part of the team that did that. It was nothing to do with the OLF. Of course, it's not what the OLF did or does or what Ola does these days. And the Badeno massacre, so-called Badeno massacre. I interviewed somebody who was a citizen of Badeno and saw people being imprisoned, Oromo people being imprisoned, because they didn't agree with the official version of the story, which is totally concocted. Anyway,
Yeah. A lot of evidence is about this. When Achalu was assassinated, there was a kind of like a continuous campaign for about 2 weeks to assassinate Achalu, because Achalu said on the Oromia media network, he said the Menelik statue should come down. It doesn't represent the people. He was brutal, and that was why Hachalu was assassinated. There are people who are mad about the Hachalu's interview, and they campaigned for about 2 weeks, and eventually they ended up killing him. Immediately, the Oromia region government said it's the OLF Shane who actually actually assassinated Hachalu. Nobody can trust that, but still they ended up arresting Jawar, Bakale Garba, and so many Oromo Liberation Front leaders because of like the violence that followed Achalu's days. They were
people
firing liable to the people, and the people are saying that the Prosperity Party is killing us, but the Prosperity Party was blaming it on the Oromo Liberation Army.
Yeah, it's. I noticed that somebody has been listening to this, going out and asking when will the international community listen to the Oromo plight. Did you see that comment coming through? I think it was me.
Yeah. Showed up.
And they'll only come in when we shout loud enough, or when it's in their interest to do so, or when it can be demonstrated in their interest to do so. But that time will come. People aren't stupid enough to follow these lies put out by biased media forever. That the truth will out. It will.
Yeah, they don't they don't want to listen to the Oromo's demand. The Oromo had very clear demand, human rights demands, including the administration of Fenfine under the Oromia's jurisdiction, the Afan Oromo to be a federal language, and a fair and free election and representation of the people in the parliament, and peace, and they for the government to stop arresting and imprisoning people, like peaceful people. So the Oromo's demands are very clear, and the government didn't want to listen. The global community is not saying anything about that. It looks like there is some kind of fear in the minds of the global powers. If the Oromos are empowered, probably Ethiopia will disintegrate. I think so. The global community and the global powers believe that Ethiopia should continue to exist with all its ills, with all its instability and all sorts of crime being committed by the ruling party. Because if they let the Oromo people become empowered, they think that Ethiopia would be kind of disintegrated, and that would be like they would lose their interest. I think they have to start.
Let's reassure them that with peace in Oromia, there'll be peace in Ethiopia and peace in the Horn of Africa. It's
yes, I believe that's what's going to happen if peace happens in Oromia. There will be peace in the rest of Ethiopia as well. If there is no peace in Oromia, there won't be any peace in the rest of Ethiopia, and as well as in neighboring countries either.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Trevor. I think we'll wind up here. Yeah, we hope to speak with you again sometime. When did you say is your report coming out?
It should be out within a week, possibly a few days, but I need to rearrange parts. But it's on the last part now, so it should be out very soon.
I see. What is the scope of the report? Is that
it's mainly abuses over the last 3 months, although we do have a few things left over from last year. Mm-hmm. But the number of things that have been going on is awful. Obviously the killings in Wallo and Galiso, but Yemen, we had 400 refugees, we think, killed in one incident in summer, over 400.
Yeah.
And it's just the whole number of horrible things happening to Oromo is well, as I say, it's overwhelming when you're trying to write it down. But it'll be out soon if you give me some rest.
Oh, sure. So would you be sharing that with other international human rights organizations?
Oh yeah, it'll go out to Human Rights Watch and Amnesty. They usually do, and obviously pushed to other organizations by people who are in charge of disseminating the report, including yourself, I hope.
Yeah, sure, sure. Definitely, definitely.
Very good.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad speaking with you tonight and hope to have another conversation pretty soon.
I look forward to it. Nagati Bula.
Nagatula.
Walabummaa News Network.
Walabummaa News Network.
Walabummaa News Network.
Walabummaa News Network.
Waggoota dheeraadhaaf karaa miidiyaalee hawaasaa sagalee uummata isaa ta'aa kan ture.
Yeroo ammaa guddachuudha. Qabsoo bilisummaa Oromoo fi walabummaan Oromiyaa akka galma ga'uuf kaka'umsaaf dammaqinsa horachuu irratti hojjeta.
Karaa toora saatalaayitii Oromiyaa fi addunyaa mararra dambali'uuf qophii isaa hunda xumurachaa jira.
Walabummaa News Network.
Qabiyyeewwan kanneen akka
oduu,
gaaffii fi deebii,
sagantaalee marii, aadaa,
seenaa gootawwan Oromoo fi
sagantaalee adda addaa barsiisaa bashannansiisan of harkaa qaba. Walabummaa News Network. Miidiyaa walabaa fi loogii irraa bilisa ta'e.
jijjiirama hawaasaatti fufiinsa qabu dagaagsuuf
miidiyaa hundaa'e. Walabummaa News Network.